but that made it popular. It mainstreamed it. It made it like, it just showed everybody that like, why would I sign? Why would I sign a deal when I can just do it myself? There's still benefits to signing a deal. Having a machine behind you, there's still benefits to it. Right. It's just like the more I got involved in business side of music, the more I realized that life probably isn't for me. I don't want to deal with these kinds of people. I don't want to deal with the level of backstabbing and
politics
and clickiness and politics and all of that shit is just not shit that I ever wanted to deal with.
Yeah, it takes away from that love. You know, it gets in the way and it becomes something else. Then it doesn't become fun anymore.
I really admire the OG indies that like Living Legends and Tech Nine and artists who are always on that train of thought.
Atmosphere.
Right. I fuck with Atmosphere. I like Atmosphere a lot. I've always liked that like appreciated that more.
Yeah.
I feel like Slug can walk through a mall and not have an issue. You know what I mean? M can't do that. Nas can't do that. Jay can't do that. I never wanted to be in a position where I couldn't go to the fucking gas station without
turning the lights off.
Without it turning into some shit.
Right.
Now I got to sign 100 autographs when I just wanted to fill my fucking tank.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, man. It's that real, man.
Yeah.
So listen, man. You know, I personally, I'm over here interviewing you. You know what I'm saying? I actually value your opinion, right, on certain things, right, especially when it comes to music.
Okay.
So I just want to talk about soundtracks. You know, what's your favorite soundtrack? Because I mean, when we talk about soundtracks in movies,
I'm a big soundtrack fan.
Right. Let's go. You feel me?
Fan.
So just give me like 3 hands down soundtracks.
Top 3. Rush Hour is one.
Really?
Rush Hour is my favorite soundtrack.
Just the original Rush Hour?
The original Rush Hour soundtrack. The original Blade soundtrack.
Oh, shit.
And,
listen, it don't even have to be a movie. It could be a video game.
Might be Men in Black, to be honest with you.
Really?
Yeah.
The first
Men
one.
in Black soundtrack, yeah.
Hey, bro, it was classic. Hey, it was actually pretty fucking classic. I was the biggest fan of it, too.
There was a Bad Meets Evil song on that record. A Royce and M song on that record. There was a Nas song on that record. There was
on the first Men in Black soundtrack.
Yeah, there was Will Smith's, Men in Black song, which I do not give a fuck. Will Smith is an underrated legend.
Come on,
rap wise.
Let's go.
I don't give a fuck what anybody has to say. Will Smith is a fucking legend.
Straight out
on the mic.
I mean, he's all of that. He really is.
He's never not been good. You might not enjoy that kind of music.
Right.
But that
even
kind
if
of
you
hip-hop,
thought it was corny, it was still dope.
It was a little corny, but
right.
it was
But
fire,
he made it
though.
work. It was fire though.
He could still really rap. The skill. I've always held like the craftsmanship and the skills over the image. Right. If I can listen to you, like I've listened to some Juggalo. I'm not a fan of ICP, but I've listened to some Juggalo positioned rappers that are really dope rappers, and I would listen to them.
Right.
I'm not a fan of that genre of hip hop.
Right.
But I'm a fan of dedication to the craft.
Exactly.
I'm a fan of like caring
that
I can really spit.
Right.
Rappers that there's rappers that you can tell just don't really care if they're a good rapper or not.
Right.
Crunchy Black is probably my least favorite rapper.
Really?
I know I turned a soundtrack conversation into.
Well, that was the third. You gave us the 3.
I did give you the 3.
Yeah.
But still, I thought we were going to talk about that more.
Yeah.
I just kind of strafed to the right, like.
Right. Yeah, we following though. You know what I mean?
Stone man. Yeah, man. I think that you can tell. I mean, just to sum them both up, I think that you can tell the difference, and I think that soundtracks are dope.
Yeah, for sure.
I think soundtracks kind of made a comeback recently. I remember when the Suicide Squad soundtrack came out, I was like, nobody's put a soundtrack out for like a movie like this anymore. Like streaming happened, and I think it just kind of took that away.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? You just don't see like. You'd see the film score, but not necessarily a soundtrack of songs that were played throughout the movie.
When you went and actually bought a soundtrack, that actually
things like the Rush Hour soundtrack sold that movie.
You could Bohemian Rhapsody?
The movie?
Yeah.
Yeah, but that's not really a soundtrack though. That's just a bunch of Queen songs.
It's just a tribute, yeah.
It's just Queen songs. I'm saying like Rush Hour was a soundtrack. All those songs were licensed to Rush Hour first. You heard Can I Get A on the Rush Hour soundtrack before you heard it on Volume 2.
Right.
Can I Get A was on Volume 2, right? Hard Knock Life?
You know what?
I'm
Listen,
pretty
I'm
sure.
not.
Yeah.
Listen,
Can
man.
I get a fuck you to these
Right,
bitches
right.
from all of my... Fucking love that song, man. That was the first time you heard Ja Rule was on the Rush Hour soundtrack.
Yeah. But listen, man, it's video games.
Video game
They
soundtrack.
got sick ass soundtracks. Like
Yeah.
there was even like Madden 07 or you know what I mean?
Midnight
Just like
Club 3, bro.
Yeah, but are
Live
we talking about-
2004.
are you
Like
talking about the soundtracks just as in just the songs that you could hear on the project? Or did they actually put out a soundtrack?
okay, right? No, so some of these were repeats, jams.
When I
and, you know what
think
mean?
soundtrack,
The
I think
selections.
like back in the day, you could go to the CD store and you could buy the Rush Hour soundtrack, the Blade soundtrack, and it had the movies that were specifically licensed for the movie
Right.
on the soundtrack. That's
Right.
what I consider a soundtrack.
Right.
I know a soundtrack technically means like anything that was played throughout the film or video game as well. But
Right.
if you didn't package it as a stream the soundtrack here, you don't have to play the game to hear the songs, you don't have to watch the movie to hear the songs.
Right.
Stream the soundtrack, buy the soundtrack. That's when I consider it.
Yeah, it should
That's
be
what
that way.
I think when I think of soundtrack.
Yeah.
It's like
Yeah.
these are the collections of songs
Right.
you highlight.
Okay, but do you think the soundtrack should contain the original songs? I mean, let's say it's a popular song, right, from Elvis. I mean, right? You know, but it's on this soundtrack because they used it in the movie, but this is not a song that was originally made for that movie, right?
Yeah. No, but that's still
That's
though,
fine.
like you license the song. It basically
Right,
turns
right,
it-
right.
a
Okay, yeah.
soundtrack is essentially a compilation album.
Exactly. Okay, I just thought you were saying that you respected soundtracks that had songs that were made for that soundtrack.
No, I mean I like those more. Yes.
Okay, yeah.
But I think there's always a mix of that.
Okay, yeah, for sure.
Like
for
the
sure.
Suicide Squad soundtrack had songs that were not from like
Right, made long
originally
before the movie.
Made before the movie,
Yeah.
but there were specific songs that were made and licensed exclusively for the movie that they
Right.
could market as like as part of the brand.
Right.
Yeah, those songs are dope. Yeah,
Right.
yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Yep. And
Yeah.
made only exclusive content of that movie.
Right.
Which was a Southpaw Beast.
He only reached out to people who were willing to like let me have the
Yeah.
song exclusively.
Yeah.
Yeah, stuff like that.
All right, now who are your favorite actors?
Favorite
Give me
actors?
3, because I know there's some shit out there, man.
Tom Hanks is my favorite actor.
Really?
Of all time.
Tom Hanks.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Definitely.
man.
I mean, I've seen that guy like completely transform into every character he's ever played. That movie, there's. I think that I realized that he was my favorite when I saw The Terminal. You ever seen that?
The Terminal.
He plays The Terminal. He plays a Russian dude or Kazakhstan, maybe? No, I don't remember. Anyways, he sounds Russian. He plays a Russian guy whose country goes into war and is disavowed as a country while he's in the air flying to America to visit
Yeah.
New York, and they won't let him out of the airport, but they also can't put him on a plane and send him home. So he lives in the airport for 9 months. He learns English by reading brochures in the
I heard of
airport.
that story.
It's based on a true story. It's very interesting. But if you didn't know who Tom Hanks was, you would just assume that he was actually a foreign actor. He just was very convincing.
Right.
And I just like his personality in movies. He always has a very playful demeanor.
Right.
He can do everything from drama to comedy.
What are your favorite genres?
Action.
Action off top. You know what I mean?
Action sci-fi.
Pictures.
Action sci-fi. We all know I'm a big superhero nerd. I'm a
Yeah.
comic book guy. So like the MCU stuff, the DC movies, you know.
Okay, so let
even
me-
when they're bad, I still kind of find
Like-
this enjoyment in
Right,
them.
right. Yeah, I
Um,
mean, you know, it's we enjoy having an opinion on it too. Like, oh man,
Yeah.
fucking
That
this
was trash, but I'm gonna
Batman
watch it.
Beyond,
But I'm gonna
and-
watch it again.
Right.
Like,
Right.
I'm gonna watch it again and probably again after that, and
Right.
make sure that I think it's trash. I'll
Right.
probably still think it's trash.
I'll still wear the
but I still
t-shirt,
watched it
you
3
know?
times.
Right, right.
Yeah. I mean, that's been
So
my
let me,
favorite
I'm gonna ask you
genre
about
of the
DC
last...
real quick, and
Oh,
I don't want to
boy.
get too far off
Okay.
topic, but
All right.
DC, where do they keep fucking up at? Where do they go wrong
In
at?
the movies?
Yeah.
I think that they
Well,
try
clearly in
to-
comparison to the MCU, right?
Right. But you know they have their people, their fans that think that the MCU movies are all comedies for kids, and DC's making adult superhero content.
Right.
I think the problem is that they're trying to make adult superhero content instead of making movies that are accessible. That's why MCU is successful, because
Yeah.
they're accessible to all ages, but they still have themes and storylines and narratives that are very relatable to adults.
Yeah.
You can root for the characters more than you
Yeah.
can in a DC movie because they're all kind of dark and
Right.
and depressing
Yeah.
a little bit when they do their movies.
I just feel like if DC would do the Dark Knight in every movie, right? then they would see